It's 5 a.m. somewhere, so that means the garbage collectors are coming to take out the trash, but we won't throw you out.
Welcome to your Trash Pals podcast, coming to you live on December 5th, 1933. Prohibition's over, and we're cracking brewskies. It's time to get lit again. The FDR years are ahead. No world war is going to happen now. We got done with the one big one.
Certainly there won't be a second.
Hoover out. And times are good. And yes, we have podcasts here in 1933 because we're roaring out of those 20s. And we're going to do a podcast here today about brewskis, beverages, bevies, cocktails, mocktails, also comics, art, culture, and whatever little bits of trash we've been picking through the garbage bin. I'm Vannotes.
And I'm Wren. That's very funny. I truly, before we started and I saw in our script December 5th, 1933, I was like, what could that be? That's just a day. It's just another day in history. It truly shows how much I paid attention in school.
Yeah, I don't think I knew if you would have told me that date. Before today, I wouldn't have known how historic it would be, but we can booze again. And let's do a live review of this new brew. This is now a beer podcast.
Oh,
which I don't know if those exist, but it sounds
I feel like
very
they do.
So this is a sockeye. I'm a big fan of sockeye. Local Idaho handcrafted. We got a honey steam beer. I've never had a honey steam beer. Got a little honey. And it's apparently radiant and easy. So here's a live review right on the pod.
Wow. A steamed honey beer. That sounds like, honestly, super cute. I don't like beer, but it sounds really cute.
I thought this was going to be too sweet. This is perfect.
Oh, yeah?
I'm pretty darn hyped on this. I'm glad to drink all 6 of the little cans I purchased today at the old marketplace, and this is the perfect spring going into summer brew. So that's for nice. all the beer fans out there.
That's so funny. I'm like, I don't drink beer, so I can't say anything. Right now what I'm drinking is a gallon of orange water.
Is it literally just you put orange in the water?
No, it's like, those water enhancers you can get. I bought a orange one because I was like, oh, I love oranges. Just a light taste of orange. But it's like flat orange soda. I've gotten used to it, but the first sip I was like, this is terrible.
Renjamin, how is that different from, why not just drink juice?
Well, because there's no sugar, and it's just water with food coloring, basically.
Is there aspartines?
I'm sure there's some kind of chemical that will kill me down the line, but that's a later problem. I'm celebrating the last of my 20s by drinking orange water.
Aspartines really do a number on the old digestive system for me. So oh, yeah? I avoid. They give me malicious downstairs problems.
Malicious gastral distress.
A lot of very distressing things. Speaking of distressing, have you been distressed by any trash this week?
Here
in December.
What trash have I consumed? Oh yeah, December. Gosh, I went to an old-timey, saw a little talkie picture or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What the hell have I been watching or consuming? Honestly, I watched, because of Cats last week, I watched a mini documentary on James Corden because I was like, what the hell is his deal? What's he about? And I learned nothing. The whole time I was like, what is happening? what the fuck is this saying to me?
This is the thing. It's like Justin Bieber like biographies when we were in school, where they were like little chapter books, and it was like, what has Justin Bieber done to have a whole little chapter book for himself?
He's, he sang about one less lonely girl, and that is more than I've done. So
that's how I feel about the James Corden documentary.
Yeah, it wasn't like a documentary. It was like a YouTube documentary. So I like, the more I say, the less legitimate it seems. But it was, I don't know. I don't know enough about James Corden to say if it was well researched or not. And it was mostly about his show. And I was like, it was like 2 hours long, and the whole time I was just like, what am I looking at? What is going on? What are they doing? And I learned that James Corden, he is British. He's a little British theater guy, and he came to America to do the Late Late Show. And that's, that's what I learned. And that's my trash, is this documentary that I obviously did not pay enough attention to.
See, I hear things like that, and I'm just like, I want to know what the visa process was like for him. I want to know the story of the poor bureaucrats who are processing his visa so that he could come to the United States and inflict his personal brand of humor upon us.
So funny. Cursed humor. I always think about him doing that thrusting thing at a car. That's like my James Corden like image in my mind.
I would love if this documentary of yours slowly like devalued itself as you were talking about it, where it was like, oh yes, it was a documentary, then it was a YouTube video, then it was just a bunch of clips of James Corden stitched together, then it was a Pornhub video of every time James Corden is shirtless, or like something like
no. So funny. No, he's a married man, Van. He's married. I can't think about James Corden in such ways. Even though I think, based on vibes, he seems like he'd be a selfish lover. So I just can't get behind it. Anyway.
I was so worried you were going to say, based on vibes, we would do well together.
No! He's too much for me. I don't think we do well together. I don't think we would mesh well.
Terrible youth pastor energy. Just absolutely terrible youth pastor energy.
Yeah.
I would be scared he'd start talking about abstinence.
Ew. No abstinence allowed. I'm like, gross. Abstinence.
I like this like pro-sex like shaming abstinence stance that like abstinence only people have about sex. Like,
exactly. I'm like, gross, you're not having sex? Weirdo.
That is every young Christian's nightmare, is being told those words.
So funny. It's because I'm from the East Coast. I'm here to harass these poor middle American Christian kids. I'm here. I'm an upstart. Except usually in movies they're from like California or something.
They're all from Euphoria High.
To be in Euphoria High, my high school was so tame, and it was a school for troubled girls. But it was like very like nothing happened, and I truly am like, where were the sex parties? Where were the drugs? Take me back to my youth and give me Euphoria High.
Oh boy. I think it is good to have a repressed high school experience and then get to go off in college. I think that's the way teens should be.
I guess. Yeah. When I first went to college, I was like, I won't drink before I'm 21. I'll never smoke. I'll never do a marijuana. Even though, like, before I left for college, my dad sat me down. We were, like, driving somewhere. And he was like, look, I know you're going to smoke weed, so just be safe. surround yourself with like the right people. Da, da, da. And I was like, Dad, I would never smoke weed. And I like my like baby cousin right before I left, he came up to me and was like crying and was like, please promise me you won't drink alcohol until you turn 21. And I was like, absolutely. And then spring semester
this poor
rolled
kid who'd
around.
just gone through dare, like
Honestly, he was like, you'll die. And then, the full fall semester, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do anything. But like the first week of spring semester, I was having my first Four Loko, and it all went downhill from there.
boy.
Memories.
Oh boy.
Or lack
And
thereof.
then you had to start asking juniors to go get you booze.
Oh
You
yeah.
had to have at least one junior or senior friend.
There was this guy from Italy that would always get alcohol for us. But because like my friends were always like, they were known for sneaking in alcohol, I had to sneak it in because nobody thought that I was like, a troublemaker or anything. I was just a little angel, a little rule follower with like 240s underneath my coat, like going into the dorms.
We had an RA who liked to drink with us.
Really? That's funny.
Is very hilarious. He was also, yeah. He was also just so high all the time. It was great.
So funny. Everybody has one RA who's just constantly high.
Let's see. My trash for this week. I've been engaging with the great works. I've been reading Romeo and Juliet, which is actually. Were you a precocious like teen who was just like, this place sucks?
No, I loved Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. I thought it was romantic because I was like 14. But I liked it. And I love the 90s movie, the adaptation.
So I'm reading it now and I'm like, this, because I was one of those kids who are like, this is not a love story. This is so boring. But it was in a precocious way, not in I don't know how to read Shakespeare way. And I think it was also just a little like, I like reading Macbeth and Hamlet. Those are the boy ones. Or
so funny.
This is a weird macho dude energy that I didn't have. But it was a play for girls. Now I'm reading it and I'm just like, this entire play is about how stupid teenagers are. Of course teenagers don't like it. Like it's constantly just like these dumbasses just doing dumbass things. Like they're screwing everything up for everyone.
They're just goofy little kids. I loved it in middle school because there was a boy I liked, and sometimes my teacher would have him read Romeo and have me read Juliet, and I was like, oh my god, how romantic. Like, looking back, I'm like cringing so hard. But it was such a wholesome little thing.
Describe this lad. What was his
So funny. His name is Joe, and he was taller than me, which wasn't hard to be. He had brown hair. I'm pretty sure he had braces. He was like a legacy in my middle school. So his dad worked at the school. Yeah, this is when I was going to this like fancy private school that wasn't my high school. Shout out Glenelg Country School. If you know, you know. And so it's like a pre-K through 12 school. So I was there like from pre-K to first grade and then left to go to public school and then came back in 7th grade to 7th and 8th. I was back there. And this was like in 8th grade. And he was so mean to me. He was terribly mean to me. So mean. And I was like, oh, it's because he likes me. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he straight up hated me for like reasons unbeknownst to me. I have no idea, but he was so mean. But I had such a crush on him. He was like very popular and like on sports teams and stuff like that. It's very classic, like childhood crush.
That's so perfect. That's exactly the kind of meathead you want to be reading Romeo as you are reading Juliet.
Exactly, because I was like, oh, I'm so bookish. Oh, I'm just so bookish and unappreciated my time. I'm the Anne Hathaway in Princess Diaries.
The Anne Hathaway. One moment. I have to quick let my dog out because he's making weird licking noises that sound terrible.
He's a little doggy. Van, one of these days, I have to tell you about my 10-year-long crush on a guy from elementary school. That's a podcast story. Or just a story. I don't. Maybe it's not for the podcast. I don't know, but I mentioned it.
just a little story time. I didn't even say what my actual trash was.
Oh yeah, what's your actual trash?
I watched. Are you a student of classic films?
No.
I rewatched Citizen Kane because I was in a mood for Citizen Kane, which is still a banger, still a bop. Citizen Kane, greatest movie of all time, they say. It's still a banger.
I don't know. Have they seen Gone Girl, my favorite movie of all time?
I don't know. I mean, the jury's still out, I guess, on Gone Girl being added to the
Criterion.
Yeah. Criterion Collection Gone Girl. So yeah, I rewatched Citizen Kane, which is really just a top-notch piece of cinema. I get something new every time. It's always funny, depending on who's the biggest asshole billionaire at the time, like what you get out of like watching the downfall of this like billionaire monster. Like this time it was like, oh, like I see Elon Musk and Donald Trump in this guy, like whose decay we're like watching on screen. But not even that film. I watched The Magnificent Ambersons, which is Orson Welles' follow-up film to Citizen Kane, which is all just about rich Midwestern white people slowly crumbling and their wealth disappearing in front of their eyes, except for the studios thought that premise was like too dark and it needed a happy ending. So the whole film is just about this like little shithead, like his life slowly falling apart and him being like, I don't want to work. I'm going to live off of mummy's money. And I'm going to be mean to this man who makes automobiles because automobiles are not the future. And yeah, it's all about like the glorification of the past or whatever. But 40 minutes were cut from the end that have been like lost to history. Like there's no existing cut of the actual film. And then the studios cut 40 minutes of the film and then added on this really stupid ending of this guy's life falling apart, him being in the hospital. And then this dude who he's been rude to the entire movie, who's the gal he really likes, dad. He's like, Mr. Automobile, like, I hate you. Where? You always want to fuck me, mommy. And then at the very end, that dude's like, hey, I'm gonna cover him. Like, I'll pay for all his crap. His wealth's all gone. He's been a dick to everyone. But he got in a car crash, so I'm gonna take care of him, I guess.
That's so funny. What?
Yeah, it's the worst. It might be the best movie with a tacked on ending that doesn't make sense ever. So
that's so funny.
That trash ending is what qualified as trash.
That like is so very you to be like, oh, my trash is Orson Welles film or whatever. I'm like, that is the follow-up to Citizen Kane and that's my trash. That's very funny. I love it.
Like one of those films where the last 5 minutes really kills it. I'm trying to think of a movie that has most of the other ones that have that problem like involve aliens, I feel like.
Really? The only one I can think of that's like that is a simple favor. Have you seen that
Ooh,
movie?
what's that one?
It's got
No.
it's so the premise is this housewife who like loves true crime. She like becomes friends with this eccentric rich lady who seems to have the perfect life. And then one day the rich lady goes missing and she's like, "Where's my friend? I got to find my friend." And like it is one of the most bonkers batshit movies I have ever seen in such a good way up until the end. The end is so dumb, but everything else you're fully locked in to all of these
Yeah.
twists and turns. And then the ending is just really stupid.
You know what energy like it kind of has is that last joke in Get Out
Oh, yes.
where
Yeah.
it's like why is this here?
Yeah.
I've read so many articles about that last joke in Get Out, which I can't even remember what the joke is. Is it like
Neither do I.
a white people are crazy joke or something like that?
Something like that. I don't really remember.
But I have Get Out on my rewatch list right now.
It's so good.
I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But that joke
do.
really is a like strange like wah wah or
yeah,
like
yeah.
Do 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 do.
Yeah, it's very like, all right, okay.
Which is kind of a classic film thing to like end it on a like little zinger like that, but which Jordan Peele's a very like huge classic film fan, I guess. But anyway, it is a strange note in a film that is really cohesive up to that point.
Yeah, I remember watching Get Out with my parents, and I was like, "Whoa, it was just so good. There were so many like little things in it that made it so good. Like the cereal and pictures on the wall and things cohesive. Da da da. The deer, or like just very cool. It was a very cool film.
The Running Guy. I still think about The Running Guy like as just one of the most like intense, uncanny things to just have this person run straight at you and then run past you. Like it's a weird thing.
Yeah. I know my brother does that. He's an athlete, so I'm like, he's weird. He's like, I'm just gonna do athleticism.
Look at us talking about topical culture. Citizen Kane and Get Out, the most
I know.
contemporary cinema we could be discussing.
So funny.
Some podcasts talk about movies that come out, this week, but not us.
Mm-mm. Here on your trash files, you will get outdated hot takes.
We want a little stank on our films. Unless, I give my Kung Fu Panda 4 review,
So funny. I was about to say, what movies are even coming out right now? I haven't seen a movie in theaters since Cats.
Oh, come to the cinema with me.
To the cinema.
I mean, I watched Godzilla versus King Kong when it came out. And
yeah, I do remember you telling us about that.
I love Kung Fu Panda 4. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually many exceptional films coming to the cinema. So
wow. I gotta see something. I used to go to the movies all the time. Like in the summer, I was like a movie rat, just in the theater. But now
the old bijou.
Honestly, in the past pre-pandemic in the PP times, I was like always doing things and watching movies and stuff. And now I'm like, is it a YouTube documentary on a like lost media PS2 game that nobody played? No, I'm not interested.
We gotta get you. You know what? The one thing about the movies is it is like live theater. One of the places where it is socially unacceptable to not be looking at your phone. Like there's
Mhm.
very few spaces like that. Church, funerals, weddings, except of course people at weddings are always taking pictures or whatever. But it is still like if you're looking at your phone the whole time, people do
Yeah.
side eye.
At your wedding, would you have like a no phones policy or not? Like a no, don't take photos, like professional photos only.
Oh, I think professional photos only is a little bit of a stretch. Have I
Really?
told you what my perfect wedding would look like?
No, tell me.
I guess this will lead into our actual segment because
Mhm.
this is unhinged behavior. I want to recreate the Peter Bruegel painting, The Peasant Wedding, which is this old Flemish painting where these dudes are just bringing people pies on like a big platter, and everyone's
Oh,
just on like wooden benches, and the floor is dirt, and everyone's having a good time.
I love this. That's so funny.
I
You're
do
so
like
funny.
I do like the idea of having a wedding and just like instead of like I don't know, salmon with like steamed vegetables or whatever, they
Mhm.
just bring out these trays of pie. Like it's
I
pie
love
time.
that. I love pie. You can't go wrong with a pie. That's so funny. I'm
Yeah.
like a little wedding. I love weddings. I think they're so funny. I think they're cool, but I also think they're really funny. I have no idea how I want my wedding to go, but I do know I don't want phones because I'm crazy.
Mm,
If I see a single phone, I'll flip out. Um, but I want to have it at this hotel called the Sagamore Pindry in Baltimore,
okay.
Maryland. I'm obsessed with it. I'm absolutely obsessed. It's such a funny name, Sagamore Pindry. I love it.
That's like a Wes Anderson location.
Right? It's very
Here we
nice.
are, the Sagamore Pendry, where
Right? Sagamore
Reginald
Pindry.
von Huxtable is writing his early Gothic novella, you know.
Right? Literally, it's such a weird name, and I've stayed there before. It's very nice. I had my dog with me one time, and I was staying there, and they were so nice to my dog. They were nicer to my dog than they were to me. I loved it. Shout out
See,
to
and I would
Sagamore
be
Pindry.
offended by that.
Really, I'm like, fuck me. My dog is what matters.
I would be like, I'm the man with the money. The dog doesn't pay you a nickel.
It's true.
Speaking of marriages, let us
Mm-hmm.
discuss our holy marriage in the star fields, surrounded by the crystal energies of the
You're so
zodiac.
funny. Of the
Uh,
Zodiac.
we watched the Twin Flames documentary, and we learned to be successful online in the 2020s. You got to start a cult. We got to
Yeah,
start a
pretty
cult.
much.
We got to start monetizing through our cult activities. We got to start hosting classes. That was the thing that really
Webinars.
got me. I was just like, they're doing all these e-courses. Like, that
If
sounds
you
so sucky.
even if you like look at like MLMs, like have you heard of Girl Defined Ministries? They have a ton of e-courses and they're equally as like well, not equally, but they're also very cultish and scammy. And they're the one of them, Bethany, I believe, moved into almost exclusively doing e-courses. And they're e-courses on how to make an e-course. And that is so bonkers to me.
Wow. As someone
It's
who
so
like
crazy.
actually teaches online, that sounds like so much work. Like to do a good one, to do a good
Yeah,
online course is so much work.
yeah. And I can assure you, none of these are good courses.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think that's the way you would have to do it to like make any kind of monetization out of it. I
Mhm.
also like I was so impressed with how long while watching the Twin Flames documentary, how long the like two figureheads of it could like just ramble on and say smart-ish enough sounding things to keep you engaged without saying anything, like anything of substance at all.
They have so much confidence. I like, as much as I would love to start a cult and to be a charismatic cult leader, I don't feel like I have that confidence to just like, there was a part, I don't know if it was in the Amazon documentary or the Netflix documentary because I kind of got them confused, but somebody was like pushing back on the idea that they were a divine masculine. And gosh, what was the guy's name? I'm forgetting.
I don't care to remember.
All right. The guy who is like, whatever his name is, Joel question mark, was like, he was just like, basically was like, shut up, and called them stupid. Yeah, and was just like really like, I'm like, how do you do that? How do you be so like, I don't know. Maybe I have too much empathy. Maybe I'm just too much of a good person to be mean like that, but I just couldn't do it. It's just so crazy. It's just so like him and Shalia, Jeff and Shalia. I think those are their names. I remember because what the fuck kind of name is Shalia? I've never heard of such a name in my life. No offense to the Shalias out there. Sorry, you have a weird fucking name.
The genuinely kind, great Shalias in the world.
Honestly, all the kindest Shalias. I'm so curious about Shalia too, because she is so secondary to Jeff, who's like, I am the second coming of Christ, and which was bonkers to be like, oh, the paintings of white Jesus, those are just of me. I'm like,
that was the best part of his, because they really didn't establish like a system like that. It's not like they had like a very defined like theology or like a cosmic like system or whatever. It was essentially like very like piecemeal, like just adding on little things as they went versus like, I don't know, there's certain like cults where it's like, oh, we have this like greater idea, like, you know, like UFO
greater
cults or
purpose.
whatever, like
yeah,
and of course they all like adjust as their like systems and doctrines and their charismatic leaders like start trying to like scoop up more power. But I was very surprised with how, like, is this a outdated bad term? Can we say this in 2024? Namby-pamby?
Oh, I believe that you can still say namby-pamby. I think so.
We can still, let me...
I mean, like, we're both queer. If it's anything, it's like a homophobic slur.
Yeah, there's certain things where you like just think about it for a little moment and you're like, is this a bad,
honestly,
is this a bad one?
Am I allowed to say this?
Oh, it's just a guy dissing another guy in a poem back in like 1726. We are in the clear to say,
so it is something homophobic,
but it's vintage fun homophobia.
I love it. Yeah, it is very namby-pamby. I get you on
like,
that. Like,
it's not like more serious cults where it's like, or you know, like, yeah, that strict of like Jehovah gave us 2 crystals or whatever, and then we transcribe these 20 new laws or that kind of thing. So we got to start building our cult. So we've already defined you are not the charismatic leader, which means, I guess to me, I guess I'm taking it. That means you have to be an emotional enforcer.
Okay, I can manipulate some people. Maybe I can try. I'll do my best. We can.
Did you see the Nexium ones too?
Yeah, I did. I stand by, like, you know, I would fall for a cult in an instant. I know it. I know in my heart of hearts, because like I went through like a really bad breakup a couple years ago, and I was like looking at this twin flame stuff, not twin flame universe, but like the concept. And I was like, whoa, this is so crazy. I was unmedicated and also deep in my crystal phase. So those things were also influencing me, but it was crazy. So I'm like, if I found Twin Flame Universe, I could have been on that documentary, but I didn't.
So you would be the perfect lieutenant because you would be like a diehard believer. Like
Absolutely.
You would like the charismatic leaders seem to know it's bullshit, like in their self-deluding way. But I think the lieutenants are almost always like, yes, this is my thing. So I think that's a good
okay.
Yeah, oh boy, I'm so glad you didn't get force masked. I'm so glad.
That would have driven me crazy. I hate that. I hate that so much. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I feel so angry at Jeff and Shalia for like tainting this sort of like gender stuff, because they're just making it like they're ruining it for everybody else. They're making it so much more complicated. And then if any of these people who have like transitioned come out of it and realize like, oh, I was in a cult, they have changed themselves so much.
Yeah.
It's like getting back to center.
Yeah, it's like people who are like forced into spirituality who then come out of it on the other side and they're like, this screwed up my entire life, which is not what spirituality should be. It should be an enriching process of exploration like gender. No, it's so sad.
It is really sad. It's bonkers. It's sad and it's bonkers. But our cult, we're not going to force anybody to do any gender stuff. We just
gender stuff.
No gender. Our cult is like about how the more money you have, like money itself is like an evil entity, and it's like sucking out all of your like soul juice and your like, goodness. And you and I are so good and so brave. We will take everyone's money and
handle the burden.
Yeah, we will sacrifice ourselves to protect everybody in our cult by taking their money and securing it in our safe, secure ways of having it.
You know what? I was thinking about like what is our like hook? Like what is, because like in your business plan or whatever, like when you craft a business plan, you're supposed to have like, what is the essential service you're providing? I think as two formerly mentally ill people, we can take people's mental illness.
Yes,
I want a bunch of bonkers people in our cults. I want
you're so funny. You're gonna get us murdered.
I want fun bonkers people.
We're gonna get murdered. That's what's gonna happen.
I want a bunch of unmedicated weirdos drinking Four Loko, having a good time.
That's so funny. When I was in high school, I wanted to start a secret society, and I was like, I had like a group of girls, we were gonna do it, and then one girl got freaked out by it, and she was like, this is satanic, it's satanic. We didn't even do anything yet, but she like, the idea of having a secret society was satanic. And I was like, okay. Now I understand what that girl was like, where she was coming from. I am that girl.
She literally was right. Like, she was like, her stranger danger senses were going off and she followed them.
She was smart.
I'm glad she led you away. Like,
I was like fully ready. You know me, I will put my address on the internet, start a secret society, accidentally do Satanism, whatever, join a cult. I'm open to it.
So we're curing mental illness by just not treating it. And then when people are mentally ill, like, and going through it, we'll just be like, that's the divine. Like, that voice you're hearing, that's like the bigger universe, and not
That
just
would be
our
like such a
universe.
small like push to get them to believe it.
Like, just like, are you depressed? Yeah, because the universe wants you to be depressed. Why are you being called to this depression? What
So
what
funny.
is this depression leading you to?
More depression.
More depression.
That's
You
what's
know
at
what
the
this
end of it.
you know what? It's our modern society. And are you depressed about money? Then just don't have it.
Give it to us. You know, people who have no money have no money worries because they don't have any money to worry about. So just
Yeah.
hand it over.
We live in the richest country in the world. We're gluttons for money. We're drunk on money. We need our money.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Find a bunch of rich people, tell them they're going through a money detox, and take their money.
Yes,
Get it
they
goop.
need to purge it.
Yeah, find Gwyneth Paltrow, get it goop certified, a money detox.
Yes.
That I feel like that's our perfect grift.
Yeah, and honestly, like, we don't have to really we don't have to commit too many crimes. We just have to be like, give us all your money. We put it in like safe investments like US Treasury bonds. And then we just take the interest when we give them their money back in like a year.
I don't know anything about trading, so I'm like, sure.
I know nothing about trading either, but
so funny.
All I know,
you sounded so confident. I believed you.
When you put money in the US Treasury, then it's guaranteed to grow interest, and then we can just pocket that.
I still am on this whole, like, you know, convincing rich people that money is evil and that they need to rid themselves of it. Because we're entering a cashless society.
They need to get rid of cash.
Mm-hmm.
They need to. They either need to get rid of cash or they need to get rid of virtual cash. Probably it'd be easier to fleece them if they give us green cash. Like, say, like, hey, you need to divest of all the cash that you're given. If your business receives cash, don't put it in a bank, donate it directly. That's like the universe's cut. Yeah, I'm feeling good about that.
For our audio listeners, Van's cat is on screen and it's just being a little cutie cat.
Yeah,
that
he's really playing it up. No, he's a terrible mascot.
Terrible mascot.
Yeah, he's stinky. He's mean. He fights. He would be like when you have like a cute kid mascot, and then they go off the deep end as you're like filming your like 9-season sitcom. He would get us in trouble.
So funny.
Yeah,
Moomin would say a slur. Okay.
Yeah, Moomin would say a slur. He would say namby-pamby in a heartbeat.
So funny. Oh my goodness. Cat saying slurs. What's next? What's next? Maybe also we should have a multi-level marketing aspect to our cult.
I mean, we gotta make money. Like, that's what we're in it for. Like, it's not like
purely,
this is about
it's purely financial.
And I think, the crystal market, the problem there is it's so oversaturated with peddlers of crystals.
And not even the meth kind.
Which do have profits attached. I think there's something with like, give away your cash and convert it to like
chakra energy.
What if we made it like this is the other thing. I really like cults that pose as like legitimate charities or businesses. So everyone's like, well, they do some good things.
Oh.
You know? Or it's like that cult restaurant I went to in Portland where they made really good soul food.
Oh, and they have like a bus? Do they have a bus?
I don't know if they had a bus.
There's some cult that has like a big like bus that is like iconic, and they also have a restaurant where the cult people work, and it like has good sandwiches according to the documentary I watched. But I'm forgetting what the name of the cult is.
I mean, the food was really good. And then I thought because they had like little signs up about like elixirs or something, and I thought it was like an old timey thing. Like, here's like
Oh, like
you're in a
sarsaparilla or something.
yeah, like I thought it was like a Cracker Barrel kind of thing. Like, where it's just like we're old timey, but no, it was legit. They did have like some cult leader
Potions.
dude, yeah, selling potions. So this is my thing. We take all these rich people, we tell them you need to get rid of your cash, but you know the cash needs to like be converted into other green energy. I think colored energy would be great. Like we talk a lot about colors. And then we tell everyone they have synesthesia.
That's so
Which
funny.
they're not taking their meds. So who knows what they're experiencing.
I think also like people join cults that are big because they're like, oh, all these people can't be wrong, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, did you hear about that Amazon scandal where there were stores where you could just walk in, take something, and walk out, and it gets charged to your Amazon account? Was just like a bunch of people in India.
Wait, what?
So there was no AI like doing the scanning or whatever. Just they had like 4,000 or something people in India like monitoring cameras to see like what people were taking and then finding their accounts and stuff like that. Isn't that crazy?
Holy cow. That's nuts.
Well, we hire those 4,000 people because they're out of a job now. And we have them pretend to be in our cult. And then people will be like, oh my God, this cult has 4,000 people in it. That's so big. And we can join it and be happy.
So, okay. So we got charismatic leader. My vibe as a charismatic leader, I'm trying to think. I'm gonna be very aloof. I think aloof is the best like thing I can go with. And then you might need to translate for me.
Okay, I can do that.
Like I might like speak in like weird platitudes or whatever, and then you'll be like,
funny.
that's what he means. Like,
all right, I'm a
or
team
just
player.
be
I can do it.
like, I could be like, oh yeah, the red energy is really strong here, and you could be like, yeah, you need to work harder, and you're disappointing the group.
And you're disappointing the group. A little guilt. That's good. Sprinkle in some guilt.
So a lot of color talk. And then I think because really like we need to build like old school wealth through emotional manipulation, we got to be buying up land. We got to be buying up land. And I think we tell all these people like you need to sacrifice your green energy and then you need to work for us and you need to take all that green energy you stole and put it out into the world. We have a produce stand of lettuces,
Okay.
you know, like, and
yeah,
spinaches. And
spinches.
we now have a produce stand, which we can use as a money laundering system. We now have land, which gives us, land wealth. We'll be a church, so it's tax exempt land, which is great. And yeah, I think this is good. As to the sexual component of our cult, I think we land knowing our personalities. It will be like very horny but repressed.
Yeah.
So like
no
how
one's
the
allowed to
twin
have
flame,
sex.
well, like how the twin flames people were always talking about like spirit penises. Maybe it could be like genital colors.
Genital colors.
Maybe
That's
there's
so funny.
like a horny color.
So funny.
And
like
and,
auras
like,
and stuff.
well, but maybe like I'm thinking about like weird night rituals of like everyone getting handed. Oh, you know what? This is the kind of thing I would love as a cult leader and as a nasty little like person banging their Barbies together. You give everyone like all the same color. Like everyone who's not having sex that night gets like a red, right? And then the
So
people
funny.
who are having sex get like a green card or whatever.
Yeah. But they get to choose. I don't want to be involved in all that. I don't want to be
But they have
prosecuted.
but they have limited choice. So we never give it to like their partners. We only give it to like the
So we're just letting them get cucked 24/7.
yes, like purposefully.
Purposeful cucking. I think you're gonna make people not want to join the cult with this.
This is like when we're into the deep manipulation. Like
Okay,
we passed on past the regular manipulation, and then it's just like we're screwing with people because we're monsters at that point. So this
Absolute
podcast
monsters.
is now literally an expanded version of that Jeff guy's tweet where he was like, "What if I started a cult?"
So funny. Yeah. Pretty much. I like circling back to the documentary, I still am so like stuck on like him being like, oh, when they're having the kid, Grace, and they're like, Grace is a asexual being, like she doesn't need the spirit penis or whatever. She can only have sex with God. I'm like, isn't he like, he goes in between saying that he's the second coming of Christ and also saying that he's God. I'm like, what does this mean?
The energy was bad.
Freaky man. It very bad. Cursed, some would say.
Yeah, that part, the hairs, yeah, on the back of my like arm just like stood up. It was like, ooh, no,
It's
no,
so
thank you.
gross. It's so freak behavior, honestly. And Shalia is so passive in both like the Amazon and Netflix. She's so passive. We don't know much about her at all, you know? And I wonder, like, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just saying she starts more assertive, and it was very sad to watch her growing like less like involved and like being berated by this guy. Not that she isn't perpetuating a bunch of this stuff, but like, and what is it, like one of the major tenets of cults is that like everyone is keeping everyone else down, like so everyone is eventually it's a culture of like everyone slowly becoming complicit until no one feels like they can escape because they've harmed someone or someone's harmed them, and it's just this terrible cycle. And I definitely saw that with her, like of her just slowly becoming more reserved in those like video clips and literally sitting like farther back in a lot of them. That was kind of bizarre.
Sorry, there has been a mouse in my apartment, and I just felt something like on my foot, and I was like, if it's a mouse, I will scream in this podcast and die instantly. Insta kill. But it was just a wire.
This will be a document. It will be a document
Honestly.
of this cult starting, document of your doom.
My doom, my death, my downfall. She died 2 days before her 30th birthday. Went out like a champ because of a mouse.
Never even seen a peepee.
Never even seen it. Never even. Not today, not tomorrow. Not as long as this mouse is in my apartment.
Well, I'm proud of our cult. I think our cult is really good. I think we've got great concept.
Yeah.
Bring people.
What we name it?
Ooh, that is important. So we got colors. We got freedom. We've got
Church of the Celestial
True Colors
Spectrum.
is already a weird personality.
Oh yeah.
Spectrum's good. What if it was like Spectrum, but like Nexium, the U was
it's spelled all, yeah, new agey.
Yeah, maybe Yeah.
I like that. Spectrum with a V.
And yeah, I think Spectrum. Oh, and it's gay too. So we can be like a very open and affirming cult because it's rainbow,
Oh,
right?
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels good.
It feels inclusive.
Yeah, we're a very inclusive cult. We really want to screw over everybody.
Oh yeah, equal opportunity.
Yeah, actually another thing I'll do as a cult leader is slowly encourage everyone to be more gay. Like just
no straight.
We get straight people in our cult and they slowly become gay.
Oops. Yeah. They're like I don't remember, what is it? There'll be like a 2 or 3 on the Kinsey scale, and then they come out a 10.
They come. Actually, my weird card system, which we could make like triangles. We could, if we're called prism, we could have like different colored prisms.
Ooh, I love
And
good
when
prism.
you give that to someone, it means like different things or whatever. But yeah, like we could have all the like dude identifying people. We give no one the sex prism for like multiple.
So funny.
Like that would be like the ultimate manipulation of just being like no one's getting the sex prism.
The sex prism. You're so
And then
funny. I'm not sold on this whole sex thing. I want us to have a rule where nobody has sex. Nobody even is allowed to like hold hands. The
unless they
asexual
have
cult.
the prism.
No, even with the prism, I'm like, no holding hands, no having sex, no falling in love. That way, 2 teenagers in the cult will have a dystopian, like tying it back to Romeo and Juliet. They'll fall in love and defeat us, thus ending the cycle.
So this is the thing. I think being a cult leader is about satisfying your weird little teen things. And I just want the ability, you know, in my most twisted version of myself, to be able to just ship people and be like, all right,
so
you're together.
Funny. Just play The Sims.
See, I didn't have The Sims. That's why I guess I'm a messed up cult leader.
So funny. Honestly, The Sims, like a big part of playing The Sims as a child is like making you your crush and then making you adults and live together and make them woohoo in the bed. That is like classic child playing The Sims behavior.
Okay. This is I was just listening to a similar Airhead podcast, A Twink and a Redhead, and I just listened to them ask this question of each other, and I want to know your response so bad. So, citing my sources, A Twink and a Redhead podcast. So the question one asked of the other was, okay, I'm going to set a scenario. You have a fantastic date. Everything goes well. Like everything is green lights. There's not a single red light in sight. Like it's one of those ones where like by the end, you know you're going to be imagining like your wedding, right?
Okay.
Like just as a like because it was just like so great, right? So you're like launching into that like pattern of thought of like what is our life going to look like together. So you go through all this like mental, you like you're prepared and you like go over to like their place afterwards. And you're just like hanging around. Like it's not even that you're going to hook up or anything. It's just like, oh, you're hanging around or like just stopping in to go on to the next thing. On their computer, you see a sim of yourself. And
that's so funny.
And you've known them like a week. Like you like you were chatting online for like a few days, and then it's like, oh yeah, we should meet each other. And like everything pointed to go. So it's like you started chatting on a Monday and you went on a date on a Saturday, right? And there on their computer is you, and very obviously you.
Okay. And that's it? It's just me?
What do you do?
That's fine with me. That's not a deal breaker.
Is that
I'm
a
like,
flag?
no, I'm like, whatever. I'm very like that's fine. That it just means that like you're a little weirdo like I am. We're the same brand of weirdo. So it like works out. Why would that freak you out?
Yes.
That's so funny. I'm like, truly,
We
I'm
can't
like,
have
whatever.
sex prisms, but we
No
can't
sex prisms.
that would be a like, oh, like that would be a serious. It wouldn't be like we need to break things off now, but it would be a like, hey, we need to acknowledge this a second. Like,
I would definitely want to talk about it. I'd be like, what is this? This is so funny. I think I would find it hilarious because I'm like, you don't know my like enough about me to make a sim about me yet. So that's like such a funny thing to do. I would be like, what is, how do you play the Sims? Are you gonna kill me? Like, what is this like whole, I need more information.
oh. And see here,
I think
this
it's
is
funny.
something I would be like, I would have rather not known. Would have rather
That's
not
so
known.
funny. I think it's like the same thing. Well, no, it's not. I was gonna say like if they wrote in their diary about you or something, but it is not the same thing.
It's a little more involved. Like
Mhm.
there's yeah, it's a little more involved. Yeah, maybe this is why I'm single.
I mean,
Maybe-
I'm equally as single, so either way.
This is probably not the reason. There's
Yeah.
probably other things involved rather than my aversion to finding myself a Sims on the
Self.
computer.
So funny.
You know what? I don't
My
think I'd
gosh.
want to know if someone has a sim of me.
I would definitely want to know. I want to know how they play the Sims. There's so many different styles and like what is their custom content like? Is it like Max's Match or is it Alpha? I'm so curious. Alpha is like super realistic Sims, so they look like real people instead of like cartoony whatevers. It's a little spooky. If it was an alpha sim of me where it like looked just like me, that would be a little spooky. But if it was like a sim version of me and not like so it looks like a goofy little sim, that's fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh boy. I don't want there's certain things I don't want people to like let me know about because it just it's too much for me. And I
Mm,
think people let me know that they've made me in The Sims. I think that's something I'm okay with not knowing.
that's so
I
funny.
think I don't think people need to send me those screenshots of being like, I made you in The Sims. So if you've done that to me,
I
don't send me the
haven't.
screenshot.
I think I will now. And that will be my weekend activity.
That
That's
was
fun.
like, oh yeah, someone gave me a note about a piece of art that I'd like already posted or something, and it was already like out there in the world, and it was just like a little note to like tweak one thing, and I was like, don't tell me that now. Like,
It's too late.
it's already out in the world.
Me, every time I post a diary comic with like 11 misspellings, and my sister always calls me out in the comments. Ooh, I have the hiccups. She's always like, this is misspelled. And I'm like, I don't know how to spell. And I handwrite these stupid things. So there's just nothing I can do.
It already has 20 likes. There's no going back.
Exactly. I'm like, it's too late.
The wheels are in motion.
As long as people understand what you mean,
Well, if you all would like to purchase sex prisms from our online store,
Oh boy.
I feel like the sex prisms maybe did reveal too much about my Freudian psychology, and I would like to redact,
So
retract.
funny. It's too late. It's in there. It's in the podcast.
But I do think that's the kind of early 2000s reality show producing that cults need genuinely.
Some Big Brother stuff.
Yeah. You need some of that. But if you would if you would like to support our continuing production of sex prisms, you can follow the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all those places. You can show your support for Sex Prisms by watching our live Twitch streams hosted on Mondays, and then our episodes all about Sex Prisms go up on Thursdays.
Yes, they sure do. Always on Thursdays. You can follow me at ren.psd and Vannotes on Instagram at VannotesBooks. You can support our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/yourtrashpals.
And you can write into the podcast at yourtrashpals@gmail.com or message us on any of those fun applications. And you can always ask us just little questions about ourselves. Favorite ice creams, favorite children's books. I don't know, whatever you want to toss out. Our thoughts on Prohibition, whether we're happy Prohibition's over.
So funny.
You could accuse me of being problematic for my views on Sex Prisms. And yeah, we could maybe talk about it on the podcast. And now we have an advertisement. It's my turn this week, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to choose 14.
14 is, drumroll, Bargain Brand ice cream.
Oh, I never wanted this one. I put it on there, but I didn't want it. Okay, well, this week's sponsor of our cult, of our podcast, is Bargain Brand ice cream. Do you enjoy... Not we were briefly sponsored by GoBots on the little ticker. But do you like ice cream that should taste good because it is the same as other ice cream, but the graphics are different on the container, on the carton, on the gallon? Yeah, especially the gallons. The gallons are always the thing where it's like, shouldn't this be the same because it's just milk and sugar and chocolate syrup, but ugly off-brand ice cream is there to be just enough if you have a grocery store cake, just enough if you have a little anniversary dinner for your grandparents, just enough if you're making milkshakes for a lot of people. So thank you, Off-Brand Ice Cream, for all of your support and all the ad money you pump into our podcast and into our cult.
Yay! Thank you, Off-Brand Ice Cream.
What if we do get real sponsors one of these days? We're gonna have to have a real sponsor segment. But until then, remember to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Hooray! Prohibition's over.